was standing in the parking lot. This is about 9:43. A lot of clouds, very low ceiling deck, and I heard a helicopter coming on a slow left-handed turn, probably from the freeway from Lost Hills. And as it got above me, it was almost directly above us in the parking lot, or these condominiums here, moving very slowly, maybe 3, 4, 5 miles an hour. So it was in a hover, searching hover, but I could tell from a sound engineer with sound pressure, you could tell it was the altitude was low. So I listened, I looked directly up, and I couldn't see it. So it had to be up maybe 100 or 150 feet in the cloud deck, because I'm going, this is awfully low. And I knew that we've got the terrain over there. We headed off on an easterly track, went right over the Las Virgenes Water District building right there, and still in that little bit of a left-hand turn, and about 20 seconds later from when it was here, heard the impact. Moving very slowly, maybe 3, 4, 5 miles an hour.
What did the impact of the helicopter sound like to you?
It was not very loud. You could hear the crushing, collapsing of fiberglass, plexiglass. There was no secondary. The rotors weren't like breaking off and hearing things fly off. It just all stopped. So, however the impact happened, it ended very, very quickly. Just a thump, and no explosion in the sky. I was not in a visual standpoint because the trees and the clouds were low enough that the helicopter went in basically right at the cloud line. He must have just come out of it, but he flew probably straight to the hill. That's why I think he went in rotors first, because everything just immediately stopped. Once I immediately pulled out my phone, called 911 within 45 seconds. I was on with dispatch. They transferred me to fire department dispatch. Was speaking to them. The sheriffs were already overshot and were heading down to Mulholland Highway. And I said, they're going too far. It's not at Mulholland.
Get out of the car.
Mulholland Drive.
It's right here at the Water District, because I know it was flying in an eastern track.
Thank you for calling 911.
Terrible tragedy. I think he was just disoriented. I didn't hear any malfunctions on the aircraft. Apparently, Kobe's helicopter was a twin turbine, so he had power, and it sounded like he was in control, because it was in a slow. It's hard to control a helicopter when you're in a hover or a slow. You've got to have command of the aircraft. So I think he just was disoriented. He did not know where he was. Met one of the residents who's lived here for 17 years. He said all the time that he's lived here, right in this condo here, he says he's never seen the clouds or the fog so dense or so low. So apparently we have these local little microclimates, and the property manager, who's been here for 10 years, says this particular little bowl here has a tendency to generate a lot of clouds and fog from time to time.
9:45, I was standing by my car drinking coffee. I heard the noise of a helicopter, but you can't tell about the color or what company is that, because it was very cloudy. 400, 300 was zero visibility.
And you heard a helicopter flying lower than you usually hear?
Low, yeah. Well, I mean, this helicopter is not supposed to be run like that. It was struggling, looks like to me. The engine-wise, or...
What did the helicopter sound like to you?
Sound the same, but was very slow. Sound was helicopter sound, but the engine was slow, like 5-6 miles, like, or knock, whatever you call. Yeah, flying like that.
So the helicopter was flying too low, it was very slow.
Maximum 400 feet, 300 to 400 feet above. And I see it. Only I see some, like, dark, something moving, object moving. But heard of the helicopter, obviously you can say it's a helicopter, but it's not like red, white, blue. You can't tell because it's foggy.
So you saw the helicopter flying too low, flying too slowly, and then what happened when it was crashing?
Tore my hands, like east side of the parking lot, I heard some noise like that. And first I thought somebody shot something, but I didn't realize this is the helicopter. 30 second pass. As soon as I stopped there, I see like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 sheriff pass. But my friend, he called 911. He's there. He's already. He, they sent wrong direction. Looks to me. They go to Mulholland, which is not supposed to go. But not gonna start. After that, I see like maybe 100, 150 cars come. Sheriff, fire department, park ranger. I mean the highway patrol, private car, which is undercover police. It looks like, and they start doing whatever they have to do. I mean, they do amazing job, fast, and I'm really proud of them. I mean,
How soon after you heard the loud crash of the helicopter did you hear the sirens arriving?
less than a minute,
Less than.
less than 1 minute,
Wow.
45 seconds probably.
England was behind the wheel of his cab that September day, driving near the Pentagon.
The plane was so low it hit the pole. When it hit the pole, it knocked the light part off, and nothing came through the pole to the car but the pole itself.
The light pole shaft speared its way through England's cab, pushing the passenger side of his seat backwards into the rear of the car. A few feet to the right, and England would have been crushed.
So I had to wrestle with the car to stop it. And when I did stop the car, there was no noise.
The jet's thunderous engines had been silenced by the fiery crash.
My wife works for them.
She works for the FBI?
Yeah.
Lloyd continued to refuse to admit that the photographs prove he was located on the bridge. But he already let it slip minutes before the earlier interview started that he knew his neighbor took pictures of his cab and the light pole on the bridge. This proves that Lloyd was deliberately changing his position on the highway for the interview to match up with where all the witnesses saw the plane. Lloyd was much more candid when he didn't realize he was being recorded.
You know what his story is? Just what I said. You got to understand what you're saying. Not the truth. It's his story. Right. It has nothing to do with the truth. It's his story. This is too big for me, man. It's a big thing. Man, you know, this is a world thing happening. I'm a small man. You know, right. My lifestyle is completely different from this. Right. I'm not supposed to be involved in this. This is for other people who have money and all this kind of stuff.
But you said, oh wait, what do you mean?
Well, I'm not supposed to be involved in this. I don't have nothing.
So is your point that these people that have all the money,
This is their thing.
this is their event?
This is for them. It's
Meaning
for
they're
them.
doing it for their own reasons,
That's
right?
right. I'm not supposed to be in it.
But they used you, right?
I'm in it.
You're in it.
Yeah, we came across the highway together.
You and their event.
That's right.
But they must have planned that.
It was planned. One thing about it, you got to understand something. When people do things and get away with it, eventually it's going to come to me. And when it comes to me, it's going to be so big I can't do nothing about it. And when it comes to me, it's going to be so big I can't do nothing about it. So it has to be stopped in the beginning when it's small to keep it from spreading.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Lloyd, in essence, admitted his involvement in the 9/11 black operation, but he was cautious not to outright confess. He worked hard to distance himself from the planners, while admitting it was planned. Regardless of Lloyd's true level of involvement, the independent evidence for a north-side approach proves the cab and light pole scene staged, and that the plane did not hit the Pentagon.
It was a high-energy impact crash.
About 35 minutes after takeoff, with the weather deteriorating, pilot Ara Zabayan asked controllers to track him on radar, but he was flying too low. 4 minutes later, he radioed he was going to go above the layer of clouds. Flying in potentially blinding fog, he reached 2,300 feet. In its final 12 seconds of flight, the helicopter banked left and abruptly descended, falling at up to 5,000 feet per minute. Its last recorded speed, about 184 miles per hour. If the helicopter came down all in one piece, or is there evidence that it perhaps broke up as it was coming down?
Preliminary information is that the helicopter was in one piece when it impacted the terrain.
Or the people who attacked the United States in New York, shot down the plane over Pennsylvania, and attacked the Pentagon.
The plane was so low it hit the pole. When it hit the pole, it knocked the light part off, and nothing came through the pole to the car but the pole itself. We pulled the pole out, and the pole was bent, and the bent part took me down to the ground. I fell down on my back, but I held the pole up. I looked across to my right, to my left actually, that's where it was, and there's a hole and fire coming out of the Pentagon. Around about this time, a fire truck came from around the end. There was an explosion that happened and rocks and stuff flew out. And they were there at that particular time. They were there in the midst of it. And I'm across the street. There's a barrier down the road. I looked at the Pentagon, and there was no debris left. I mean, if a plane, I'm wondering now, what happened to the airplane? There's a hole in the building, but the hole is not big as the airplane. The tail section would be taller than the hole. The wing spread, I mean the wings, man, the big engines underneath each wing. Nothing was left out of the plane. I mean, how's a plane going to completely go into a building and nothing be left out?
The debris field is around 500 feet long. Investigators said that the helicopter may have missed clearing the top of the hill by 20 to 30 feet.
We do know the helicopter did not have a terrain avoidance warning system or a black box.
Kobe Bryant.